I was gifted a Mercedes by my wife's mom, but it hid a cheating scheme that nearly ruined my life. I remember that night as if it were carved into my very soul. My birthday was meant to be a simple, quiet evening, a modest dinner with my wife Clara, and a small glass of whiskey to toast another year of life. I had planned for nothing more than a peaceful celebration at home where the gentle murmur of our conversation and the soft glow of the dining room light would mark the passage of time. However, that night, as twilight deepened into dusk, everything I had expected was shattered by an extravagant display that left me both awed and uneasy. In the middle of our driveway, right under the fading light, stood a brand-new red Mercedes-Benz. Its surface gleamed as if polished by a master, each curve catching the light in a way that made it seem almost otherworldly. I stood there, frozen in disbelief, watching as Clara's mother, Margaret, made her entrance with a confidence that could only be born from years of carefully laid plans. She stepped out of her car with a self-assured smile that hinted at hidden motives, and immediately, all eyes turned to her and the car she had so proudly presented. "Do you like it? It's the latest model. You should be grateful," she said in a tone that brooked no argument. The words hung in the air like an imposition, and the response from our small gathering was instantaneous, a chorus of gasps and murmurs of admiration. Yet, as the sound of praise filled the cool night, a deep-seated suspicion churned within me. I could not, in good conscience, join in the wonder and excitement. Clara's eyes shone with a mixture of surprise and alarm as she spoke up. "Mom, this is too much," she said. But Margaret dismissed her concerns with a wave of her hand, replying, "Nonsense. My son-in-law deserves the best," even as I offered a strained smile and muttered, "Thank you, Margaret. This is quite the surprise." I felt the weight of a silent warning settle over me. I squeezed Clara's hand, and in that fleeting moment, I saw the unspoken question in her eyes: why was I not sharing in the joy? The answer was simple and painful. I did not trust her gift. It was as if the car, with its flawless exterior and dazzling finish, carried a secret that whispered of hidden agendas and veiled threats. I could not shake the thought that this extravagant present was less a gift and more a trap wrapped in luxury and deceit. As the evening wore on, every laugh and every clink of glass around me only deepened my inner turmoil. I kept replaying Margaret's words in my mind, the smug tilt of her smile, and the way she had orchestrated the entire scene with meticulous precision. This was no random act of generosity. It was a calculated move designed to awe and control. I felt as if I were standing on the edge of a chasm, with the bright light of that magnificent car illuminating the dark depths of a plan I was only beginning to understand. My birthday, once a celebration of life's quiet milestones, had turned into a turning point, a moment when I realized that every gift, every kind gesture from Margaret, carried a hidden price. That night, as I tried to lose myself in the routine warmth of family and friends, my mind raced with questions and doubts. How could something so beautiful be tainted by such sinister intent? What did it mean for our future, for Clara, and for me? In the midst of the laughter and the merriment, I made a silent vow to uncover the truth behind this dazzling deception. I would search every shadow and question every smile until I had exposed the hidden dangers lurking beneath that perfect, polished exterior. Even as the night deepened and the guests slowly drifted away, leaving behind echoes of admiration and whispered speculations, I clutched Clara's hand tighter. I knew that to protect the fragile piece of our lives, I would have to confront not only the mystery of that car, but also the deeper web of control that Margaret had so carefully spun around us. Days passed slowly after that unforgettable night when the shining red Mercedes-Benz arrived in our driveway. I could not bring myself to touch it, and every day its gleaming presence reminded me of the heavy price that came with Margaret's so-called gift. In the quiet mornings, as I sipped my coffee and gazed out the window, my eyes were involuntarily drawn to the car. Its polished surface reflected a world of luxury that seemed to hide a darker secret. I felt a constant unease, as if the car were more a trap than a present. One cool evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky with gentle hues of orange and pink, Clara and I stood together by the window. Her soft voice broke the silence. "Why won't you drive it?" she asked, her eyes filled with both worry and hope. I hesitated, trying to find words that could mask the turmoil in my heart. With a shrug that felt more like a feeble excuse than a true answer, I said, I just like my old car." I knew it was a lie. The truth was far more complicated. Every time I looked at that red car, a knot tightened in my stomach, a knot that spoke of hidden danger and unspoken threats. Margaret's influence was never subtle. From the day she presented the car, her calls became frequent, each one punctuated with the same insistent query, "Has he driven it yet?" I could sense the expectation in her tone, as if my hesitation were a challenge to her authority. Clara would glance at me, her eyes silently begging for an explanation I could not give. I felt caught between my instinct to protect us and the pressure to accept a gift that came with strings attached. That night at dinner, as we sat at our modest table lit by the soft glow of a single lamp, Clara's concern was written all over her face. The conversation circled back to the car again and again. I listened to her gentle pleas and her confused questions, but inside, I remained resolute. I could not, would not, let the allure of a shiny new car blind me to the hidden cost it carried. Every one of Margaret's calls echoed in my mind, a constant reminder that this gift was never free. I remembered the way the car's red paint shimmered in the light, almost mocking me with its perfection. In my thoughts, it was not merely a vehicle. It was a symbol of control, a tool with which Margaret sought to weave herself deeper into our lives. The more I saw it, the more I felt that every glance at its smooth curves was a look into a trap laid with careful precision. I recalled her confident words and the subtle smile that hinted at something darker than simple generosity. In the silence of our home, I often found myself standing alone, the weight of unspoken danger pressing down on me. I worried that driving that car, accepting its presence in our lives, would mark the beginning of a slow loss of freedom. My old car, battered yet cherished for its honest imperfections, was a far cry from this gleaming machine that promised luxury while concealing control. I feared that once I took that car for a drive, I would be stepping into a well-orchestrated plan where every mile brought me closer to a fate I did not want. The days turned into weeks, and my inner conflict grew stronger. Every time I heard Margaret's insistent voice on the phone, asking if I had driven it yet, a cold shiver ran down my spine. It was as if I were trapped in a silent battle between the desire for normalcy and the need to resist a dangerous offer. Each call was like a drop of poison, slowly eroding my peace of mind and making it clear that this car was never meant to be a simple birthday gift. Late at night, as the world outside slumbered, I lay awake, listening to the soft hum of our neighborhood. In those quiet hours, my mind wandered over every detail of that red car. I imagined the sound of its engine, the smooth vibration that promised speed and luxury, yet also whispered of hidden faults. Every thought was a reminder of the price of accepting a gift wrapped in deception. I resolved that I would protect Clara and our small world from any hidden cost, even if it meant defying those who believe such gifts should be accepted without question. I would stand firm, keeping the car untouched as a symbol of my determination to preserve our freedom. That evening, a chill ran through me as I decided it was time to confront the reality of the situation. The red Mercedes-Benz, which had loomed over our lives like a specter of hidden menace, now beckoned me to uncover its true nature. With trembling hands, I took the keys and led Clara outside into the cool night air. The driveway, bathed in the soft glow of street lamps, seemed to stretch out before us like a runway into an uncertain future. I could feel every eye, real or imagined, watching me as I approached the car. My heart pounded in my chest as I inserted the key into the ignition, a soundless promise of revelation that hung in the balance. Clara's eyes, wide with a mixture of apprehension and curiosity, followed my every move. I hesitated for a moment, caught between the desire to protect her and the need to know the truth. In that pause, every detail of the car's polished exterior and glimmering finish took on an eerie significance, as if each reflection was a clue to the deception that lay beneath. With a deep breath, I turned the key, and the engine roared to life, shattering the silence. The sound was not the comforting purr of a new machine, but a harsh, rattling growl that sent a shiver down my spine. Clara's face went pale as she gripped the door handle, her instincts screaming that something was terribly wrong. I moved to the driver's seat, my hands steady despite the turmoil swirling inside me, and began a slow, deliberate inspection of the dashboard and control systems. The modern display flickered with information I did not fully understand, but one small error code caught my eye, a nearly imperceptible warning hinting at damage beneath the surface. My mind raced back to all the cautions Margaret had so casually dismissed. Was this merely a glitch, or was it evidence of a far more sinister truth? The engine's vibration grew stronger, as if protesting its own condition, and I felt compelled to dig deeper. I pulled out my phone and opened the diagnostic app, my fingers trembling as I keyed in the VIN number. In that moment, time seemed to stretch indefinitely, each second laden with the potential for disaster or redemption. The app displayed a cascade of alerts and warnings that confirmed my darkest fears. The car had suffered significant damage in a recent accident, a fact meticulously hidden by Margaret's smooth words and dazzling presentation. My heart sank as I scrolled through the technical details, each line of data a nail in the coffin of my trust. Clara looked at me, her eyes brimming with unshed tears, and I realized that this betrayal was deeper than a faulty machine. It was a violation of the safe world we had built together. I felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on me, not only as a husband but as a guardian of the fragile life we shared. Every malfunction, every hidden fault, was a reminder that accepting this gift was tantamount to surrendering our freedom to Margaret's covert agenda. The realization was both devastating and clarifying. Clenching my fists, I felt anger and resolve surge through me. This was no mere oversight. It was a calculated move designed to entangle us in a web of control and surveillance. As the engine's roar diminished into an ominous hum, I recognized that this was a turning point. A moment when the veneer of luxury peeled away to reveal the harsh truth beneath. I turned to Clara, my voice steadier than I felt, and said, "We must uncover every secret hidden in this car. We have to find the truth no matter how deep it goes." Her silent nod conveyed a determination that bolstered my own resolve. I stood there, absorbing the gravity of the moment, while the night wrapped around us in its cool, implacable embrace. Every detail, the cold gleam of metal, the flicker of the digital display, even the quiet whisper of the wind, spoke of a conspiracy that threatened to shatter our lives. I recalled the subtle hints and warnings that had been dismissed as overreactions, now aligning like pieces of a grim puzzle. The car was not simply defective. It was a sophisticated instrument of manipulation, crafted to monitor our every move. In the reflective quiet, I vowed that I would not allow this act of deception to dictate our future. With Clara by my side, I resolved to dismantle the layers of control wrapped around us, step by painstaking step. Each measured breath carried the promise of reclaiming our autonomy, a promise forged in the crucible of that harrowing moment of truth. I knew then that nothing would ever be the same, and that our journey toward freedom had only just begun. I had spent restless nights and countless anxious hours poring over the details I had uncovered. In the dim light of our study, I sat with Clara beside me, the evidence spread out like a map leading into dark territory. I had run the car's VIN through a trusted database and even paid for a comprehensive vehicle report. Every line of data was a revelation, a crack in the facade of that gleaming red Mercedes-Benz. The report confirmed what my gut had screamed. From the moment I hesitated to drive the car, this vehicle had been in a serious accident just 6 months earlier. The engine, though repaired superficially, carried hidden damage that rendered it dangerous for any long drive. I felt my heart pound as I recalled the night I'd listened to the car's engine, a rough, rattling sound that contrasted starkly with the smooth purr I expected from a new model. As I scrolled through the technical specifications on my phone, I discovered an even more disturbing detail. Embedded within the car's dashboard system was a tracking and recording feature that was anything but standard. Every movement, every conversation that took place inside was being recorded and transmitted in real time to a device, a smartphone that I later learned was in the hands of Margaret. My mind raced, the reality settling like a stone in my stomach. Margaret had not merely given us a car. She had given us a carefully engineered trap designed to control and monitor us. I remembered Clara's shocked face as the engine's vibration grew erratic when she had turned the key. It was then I realized that the car was more than just mechanically compromised. It was a symbol of Margaret's obsession with power, a device through which she could keep a constant watch over our lives. With every beep and flash of the diagnostic screen, I felt increasingly betrayed and cornered. I could not believe that someone who claimed to care for our well-being would orchestrate such a deceit. My thoughts tumbled over one another in a chaotic rush. Each fact uncovered a reminder of how our lives had been manipulated without our consent. The car's internal systems, designed to record every sound and movement, confirmed that this was not a case of poor workmanship or a simple accident. It was a deliberate act, a sophisticated mechanism of surveillance. In that moment, I knew that the threat went far beyond the risk of a mechanical failure. It was an invasion of our privacy, a sinister intrusion into the very fabric of our relationship and personal freedom. I looked at Clara, whose eyes shimmered with a mixture of terror and determination. "We need to get to the bottom of this," I whispered, my voice rough with emotion. I could see that she was both frightened and resolute, ready to stand with me against the tide of manipulation that her mother had unleashed. My mind raced with plans and countermeasures. I thought about the independent mechanic, Morrison, who had already warned me about the patched-up repairs that barely held the engine together. His grim expression and the detailed report he handed me were undeniable proofs of the car's dangerous past. Every piece of evidence now formed a coherent picture. Margaret had orchestrated this entire sequence to force us into a situation where accepting her gift would mean submitting to her control. The thought of our lives being steered by someone else, of our every move being monitored, filled me with a deep, seething anger. I resolved then and there that I would not allow our lives to be dictated by a web of deceit. With Clara's hand tightly in mine, I vowed to expose every hidden flaw, every implanted device that had turned our gift into a trap. The night grew colder as I sat with the glowing report in front of me, a silent testament to a truth too dangerous to ignore. I could almost feel the weight of Margaret's presence lurking beyond the shadows, a constant reminder that she was still watching, still controlling. Yet I also felt a spark of hope. Hope that by unveiling these dark secrets, Clara and I could reclaim our freedom and protect our future. In that quiet, determined moment, I made a promise to myself. I would dismantle every piece of her insidious plan, no matter how deeply it was buried. The car, with all its hidden dangers, had become a symbol of a battle for our autonomy, a battle that I was ready to fight, one truth at a time. I woke up the next morning with my heart still heavy from the revelations of the previous night. The cool light of dawn crept into our room as I lay awake, replaying every detail of our conversation and the evidence I had discovered. Clara's eyes, red from tears and worry, had met mine with a silent question. How could someone who claimed to love us impose such a dangerous trap? I knew that behind that red Mercedes-Benz lay more than just mechanical faults. It was a symbol of Margaret's twisted need to control, her obsession to keep us under her watchful eye. As I got dressed, every step felt weighed down by the enormity of what I had learned. I remembered Clara's trembling whisper, "Why would she do this?" My answer, though painful, echoed in my mind, "Because Margaret doesn't give gifts, Clara, she sets bait." Her faith in her own mother was crumbling, and I felt a deep responsibility to protect the woman I loved from a force that was both invasive and destructive. I decided that the only way to reclaim some sense of control was to gather undeniable proof. With a heavy heart, I drove the car, not on the open road, but carefully to Morrison's Auto Repair, a small independent shop known for its honest work. The journey was silent, the engine's rough hum filling the car with a grim reminder of its hidden flaws. Each mile felt like a step deeper into a labyrinth of deceit that Margaret had so meticulously crafted. Upon arriving at the garage, Morrison greeted me with a solemn nod, his eyes quickly scanning the car as if reading its troubled history and the scratches and dents on its surface. "Let's see what we're dealing with," he said without preamble. I watched nervously as he hooked up diagnostic tools and ran a series of tests. Minutes stretched into an eternity as I paced the small waiting area, the weight of uncertainty pressing on every breath I took. Finally, Morrison returned, a thick report clutched in his weathered hands. His expression was grave, and every word he uttered seemed to hammer home the terrible truth. "This car has been patched up, but it's not safe. The engine could fail at any moment," he explained, his tone matter-of-fact, as if discussing a minor repair rather than a life-threatening hazard. I stared at the report, my pulse quickening as the details confirmed my worst suspicions. The accident, the faulty repairs, the deliberate tampering with the car's systems. All of it painted a picture of a vehicle that was never meant to be trusted. Clara, who had arrived quietly at the shop after sensing my distress, stood behind me. I could see the shock and betrayal in her eyes as she read over my shoulder. The realization hit her like a cold wave. This wasn't an unfortunate mistake or an innocent oversight, it was a calculated move. Margaret had orchestrated everything, using the guise of generosity to mask a sinister desire to monitor and manipulate our every move. "We need to get proof," I told Clara, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. The report was that proof, a damning document that exposed not only the car's dangerous state, but also the lengths to which Margaret was willing to go to control us. In that moment, I felt a surge of determination replace the fear that had long held me captive. I could no longer sit back and allow Margaret's obsession to poison our lives. Every page of the report, every word spoken by Morrison, steeled my resolve to confront the reality of our situation head-on. I knew that the road ahead would be fraught with conflict and heartache, but I also knew that Clara and I deserved a life free from the shadow of manipulation. I took the report in my hand, feeling its weight as if it contained not just technical details, but the key to reclaiming our freedom. "One have to show this to someone who can help us," I said softly, glancing at Clara, whose eyes now shone with a mix of fear and determination. We need to document everything, leave no stone unturned." As we left Morrison's Auto Repair, I couldn't shake the image of the red car and the dangerous secret it held. The evidence was undeniable. A mother's obsession had transformed a simple gift into a weapon meant to bind us. Every step I took that day was a step away from the life we had known, and toward a future where I hoped we could finally break free from Margaret's relentless grip. I vowed to myself that no matter how deep the deception ran, I would fight for our right to live in a space free from surveillance and control. The proof in my hand was both a weapon and a promise that Clara and I would reclaim our lives piece by piece, until the day came when Margaret's obsession was nothing more than a distant, fading memory. That night, the cool air pressed against my skin, as Clara and I stood on the doorstep of Margaret's penthouse. My hand trembled as I clutched the thick folder of evidence, the accident report and the diagnostics confirming the tampered tracking system. Each paper was a testament to the deception we had uncovered. I rang the doorbell, and every second that passed felt like an eternity, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure it echoed in the empty hallway. When the door swung open, Margaret greeted us with an expression that shifted rapidly from feigned delight to barely concealed irritation. "Oh, what a pleasant surprise. Did you finally drive your—" she began, but her words were abruptly cut off as I hurled the folder onto the gleaming table inside. The papers scattered like leaves in a gust of wind, and for a moment, silence reigned in that lavish foyer. Her smile, so carefully constructed, faltered. "What is this?" she demanded, her tone suddenly sharp. Clara's voice, usually so soft and reassuring, trembled as she spoke. "You lied. The car was in an accident. The engine is unstable." Her words cut deeper than any accusation I had ever heard. Margaret's eyes darted between us, her composure cracking. "You're being dramatic," she retorted dismissively, as if the evidence before us were nothing more than a misunderstanding. I did not allow her to deflect. Stepping forward, I retrieved another set of papers from my coat pocket. Documents that detailed the hidden recording and tracking system embedded within the car. "Then explain this," I said, my voice low and steady, though every word was laced with the hurt of betrayal. For a long, agonizing moment, Margaret's face was void of any reply. The usual sparkle of self-assurance was nowhere to be found. The silence in the room grew thick as I continued. Every movement, every word spoken in that car was sent to a device. Your device. I could feel Clara's hand tighten around mine as I laid out the evidence like a map leading to the heart of her mother's scheme. My mind raced back over every subtle hint I had ignored before, every unnerving comment cloaked in forced concern. Now, every piece of proof was laid bare, and there was no escaping the truth. The elegant room, filled with ornate furniture and soft lighting meant to impress, now felt like a trap, a stage for Margaret's grand performance of control and manipulation. "I only wanted what was best for you," she finally whispered, her voice cracking as she attempted to justify her actions. But the dam of our doubts had burst. "Best for us means freedom, not surveillance and danger," I countered, the conviction in my words growing stronger with each passing second. I could see the conflict in Clara's eyes, her loyalty torn between the comforting memories of her childhood and the harsh reality unfolding before us. As I looked at Margaret, I saw not a benevolent mother but a woman whose need to control had warped into something dark and dangerous. I stepped closer, placing the folder squarely on the table between us. "'Tis is over tonight, Margaret. We will not live under your watchful eye any longer." Her face hardened, and for a split second, the fury in her eyes mirrored the storm raging inside me. "As you think you can just walk away from this?" she hissed, the sound more venomous than any words I had heard before. "I think you've already lost," I replied, my voice firm despite the tremor of emotion beneath it. The room seemed to hold its breath as we stood there, two opposing forces locked in a confrontation that would forever change our lives. In that charged moment, I realized that this was not simply about a faulty car or a misdirected gift. It was about reclaiming the dignity and autonomy that had been slowly eroded by years of manipulation. Clara's eyes shone with determination as she stepped forward, her quiet strength bolstering my own resolve. "We're done being your puppets," she said softly, yet with a clarity that resonated in every corner of that space. I knew then that our path forward, though fraught with uncertainty, would be one of liberation, a journey away from the toxic shadows cast by Margaret's obsession. As I gathered the scattered papers and looked once more into the eyes of the woman who had tried so desperately to control us, I felt a surge of defiance. The confrontation was not just an airing of grievances, it was the first step toward dismantling the intricate web of lies that had ensnared our lives. With Clara by my side, I vowed to expose every hidden truth, to reclaim every stolen moment of privacy, and to forge a future untainted by the dangerous games of those who sought to manipulate us. In that silent, tense pause that followed, I knew that nothing would ever be the same again. We had taken the first step in breaking the chains of control, and tonight we had declared our independence once and for all. I felt as though I were watching a slow unmasking, a gradual shedding of pretenses that had hidden the true face of a woman I once trusted. In the tense silence that followed our confrontation with Margaret, I saw the mask of false benevolence begin to slip away. Her eyes, once filled with a confident glow, now revealed a hard, calculating glimmer that sent shivers down my spine. I remembered the soft voice of the woman I had grown up with, the one who had always seemed to care, and now I saw only the stark truth. Behind every gift, every generous act, lay an intricate web of control. As I stood there with Clara by my side, I watched as Margaret's carefully crafted facade crumbled. "I was protecting you," she finally muttered, almost too softly to hear, her gaze shifting uneasily from me to Clara. Her words stung like a lash across my face, each syllable a bitter reminder of the years of manipulation. I could hardly believe that the same woman who had once offered comfort and support could now confess such a twisted rationale. "Protecting me from what?" I asked, my voice low and steady despite the turbulent storm inside me. Her lips twitched into a smile that was more a grimace than a sign of affection. "From her," she said, the word hanging in the air like a curse. It was as if I were witnessing a betrayal not just of trust, but of the very essence of our family. Clara's eyes widened, and in that moment, I saw the full weight of her inner conflict, caught between the love for the mother she had always known and the cold, harsh reality that was now unfolding. I took a step forward, feeling the gravity of every word as if it were a physical force pressing down on me. "You tried to eliminate the one person who could stand by me without strings attached," I said, my tone trembling with a mix of anger and disbelief. The words spilled out in a rush, fueled by years of hidden suspicion and the pain of deception. Margaret's expression hardened, and for a moment the room was filled only with the sound of our heavy breaths. "You wouldn't cut me off over something so small," she snapped, her voice brittle with defiance. But I knew that nothing about this situation was small. Every moment, every careful arrangement, had been a calculated step to wrap us tighter in her control. I looked into Clara's eyes, searching for a sign that she was ready to break free of the toxic influence that had shadowed our lives for far too long. There was fear there, yes, but also a spark of determination, a silent vow that she would not be trapped by the past. "This is the end, Margaret," I declared, my voice echoing in the spacious, opulent room that suddenly felt like a cold cell. I recalled every small act that had built up to this moment, the endless calls, the insistent reminders of our duty, the underlying threats disguised as concern. All of it converged into this singular, inevitable confrontation. As the final pieces of her mask fell away, I saw not a caring mother, but a woman consumed by an obsessive need to dictate every detail of our lives. I felt a surge of both sorrow and resolve, sorrow for the loss of the nurturing figure I had once believed in, and resolve, too. Ensure that no one, no matter how well-intentioned they might have seemed, could ever invade our privacy and sense of self again. Clara stepped forward then, her hand reaching out to join mine, a quiet yet powerful signal of her newfound strength. "You have no right to decide what is best for us," she said, her voice soft but clear. In that moment, the weight of the past began to lift, replaced by the promise of a future defined by our own choices rather than by someone else's hidden agenda. I gathered the scattered evidence from the table, each paper a testament to the dangerous truth we had uncovered, and I felt a strange calm settle over me. I knew that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges as we disentangled ourselves from Margaret's influence, but I also knew that the first step had been taken. The mask had fallen, and with it the illusion that had kept us under her control for so long. Standing there, I vowed that I would fight for every moment of freedom, for every piece of privacy that was rightfully ours. The confrontation was not merely an exchange of words. It was a declaration of independence, a rebuke to a legacy of manipulation that had defined far too many moments of our lives. As Margaret's eyes darted away in silence, I saw in them the final trace of a woman who had lost herself in her obsession, a woman whose control was slipping away like sand through her fingers. With Clara beside me, I stepped back, leaving her to face the ruins of her past. I did not know what the future held, but I knew that the chains of control had been broken. In that charged, heart-wrenching moment, we took the first step toward a life unburdened by deceit and surveillance. A life where every decision was made by us and for us. I woke one crisp morning with a heavy determination, the memories of Margaret's manipulation still echoing in every thought. The chill in the air did little to cool the burning resolve in my heart. Clara and I had spent long nights discussing how to reclaim our lives from the clutches of her mother's control, and today marked our first step toward that freedom. As I sipped my coffee, I stared out the window at the rising sun, its light gently dissolving the dark shadows of the past. I felt that the dawn was symbolic, a fresh start after months of entanglement and deceit. The red Mercedes-Benz, once a dazzling trap, was now nothing more than a reminder of what we had endured and what we were determined to overcome. After breakfast, Clara and I packed our few belongings, leaving behind not only the car that had threatened our future, but also the remnants of a life dictated by someone else's design. We had sold the car to a discreet buyer who promised to dismantle the tracking system and ensure it would never again serve as an instrument of control. Each step we took away from the familiar streets of our old neighborhood was weighted with both sadness and liberation. I felt the chains of Margaret's influence breaking, link by link, and with every step, my heart grew lighter. Driving away in our modest, trusted car, I marveled at the simplicity of the new journey ahead, no longer burdened by lavish traps and hidden surveillance. Our route was uncharted yet free. The road stretched before us like an open promise, a promise that we could rebuild our lives piece by piece without the specter of control looming over every decision. I recalled the many sleepless nights spent poring over evidence, the painful confrontations, and the gradual unmasking of a mother obsessed with power. Today, those memories served as both a warning and a beacon, urging us to trust in our own strength and to pursue a future where our choices were truly ours. Every mile that passed beneath our wheels was a testament to the resilience of our spirit. The open road became our confessional, where the sound of the engine mingled with our whispered hopes and quiet declarations of independence. In the gentle hum of the tires on asphalt, I found solace and determination, a rhythm that promised renewal. Clara's hand rested in mine, warm and reassuring, a silent pledge that we were in this together. I looked at her, and in her eyes I saw not the traces of old fears but the bright spark of hope, a hope that shone fiercely even in the face of uncertainty. As the day unfolded, we made our way to a small town nestled in a valley, a place where no one knew our past or the secrets that had once threatened our peace. In that new environment, we began to build a sanctuary away from the prying eyes of Margaret and her endless demands for control. Every detail of our new home was chosen with care, a modest dwelling with a small garden where we could grow our own vegetables and plant the seeds of a future defined by our own hands. I felt that here, in the simplicity of honest work and genuine connection, lay the antidote to the poison of deceit that had once infiltrated our lives. I spent the afternoon fixing small things around the house, each repair a quiet act of defiance against the chaos of our former life. The rhythm of hammers and saws filled the air, a melody of reconstruction and healing. In between tasks, Clara and I talked about dreams. Dreams long suppressed by fear, dreams that now, with Margaret's influence receding, could bloom freely. We planned for a future where every sunrise would be a celebration of our freedom, where our child, whom we had kept secret until we were ready, could grow up in a home built on trust, love, and independence. That evening, as the sun dipped low and cast a warm glow over our new abode, I sat outside on a creaking wooden porch, reflecting on the journey that had brought us here. The lingering pain of betrayal had not vanished, but it was tempered by the realization that we had reclaimed our lives. I knew that challenges might still lie ahead, that the scars of the past might sometimes reopen in moments of doubt, but I also knew that we had the strength to overcome them. In the fading light, as Clara joined me with a gentle smile and a quiet, "We're free now," I embraced the truth that our future was ours to write, a future unburdened by surveillance, manipulation, or the weight of another's obsession. The days after we left our old life were filled with the hope of rebuilding and healing, yet the shadow of Margaret still lingered like an unwelcome ghost. One quiet afternoon, as I was sorting through some old mail in our new home, a small package arrived. Its plain brown wrapping gave nothing away, yet a tiny red onesie was tucked inside. My heart sank when I saw it. Clara, who was in the kitchen, rushed in as I held the onesie in trembling hands. "This isn't a gift," I said slowly, my voice heavy with both anger and disbelief. "It's another message." In that moment, I realized that Margaret had not yet given up her hold on us. Her note, short and chilling, read, "You can't keep me out forever. I'll always be watching." Clara's eyes widened in shock and fear. We stood there in silence for what felt like an eternity, the onesie in my hand and the note echoing in our minds. I felt the familiar knot of betrayal tighten in my chest. Margaret, with her constant surveillance and manipulation, had played her final card, and now, even as we tried to break free, she was determined to remind us that her control was never truly gone. My thoughts raced as I considered our options. Every decision we made had been shadowed by her relentless need to meddle, and now it seemed she had one last play left. I knew that if we did not act soon, her presence would once again seep into every corner of our lives. That evening, Clara and I sat together at our small dining table, the silence between us heavy with unspoken fear and defiance. "We can't let her win," I finally said, my voice low and resolute. "This note, this onesie, it's her way of telling us that she will always be here, watching, waiting for a chance to come back." Clara reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "What do we do now?" she asked softly, her eyes searching mine for a sign of hope. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of every past confrontation and betrayal. "We take control," I said firmly. "We document everything, and we secure our home. We must protect ourselves from her reach, no matter what form it takes." Over the next few days, I began to set up extra security measures around our home. I installed cameras at every entrance and reinforced the locks. Every time I double-checked the system, I could almost feel Margaret's eyes on us, a constant reminder of her unyielding obsession. Clara and I spent long hours discussing our next steps, weighing the cost of her interference against the possibility of ever being truly free. The onesie sat on our coffee table like a silent threat, a stark symbol of a battle that was far from over. I reached out to a trusted friend who had once dealt with a similar situation, hoping to learn how best to shield our lives from unwanted intrusion. Their advice was simple but clear: not let fear dictate your actions, stay one step ahead, gather proof, and never give her the power to make you feel vulnerable again. The days turned into nights, and each moment brought a mix of anxiety and determination. I began to compile every piece of evidence that could be linked to Margaret's schemes: the strange phone calls at odd hours, the unexplained gifts, even the subtle changes in her behavior that we had once dismissed as concern. With every document and every recording, I felt our defenses growing stronger. Yet despite our efforts, there was always a nagging doubt in the back of my mind. Could we ever be truly free from her influence? One night, as Clara slept soundly beside me, I sat at my desk and wrote a letter. In it, I detailed every incident, every small but telling sign of Margaret's meddling. I promised myself that I would keep fighting, that I would not allow her to steal away our peace of mind. I sealed the letter with a sense of finality, as if putting an end to a chapter that had long tormented us. But then, just as I began to believe that we were gaining control, a new threat emerged. A voice on the answering machine, unmistakably Margaret's, left a message that chilled me to the core. "You can block me all you want," the message hissed, "but I will find a way back into your lives. I am a part of you now." The words echoed in the quiet of the night, shaking the fragile foundation of our newfound freedom. In that moment, I realized that Margaret's final play was not merely a threat. It was a declaration of a war that had been fought in the shadows for too long. The onesie, the note, the ominous message, they were all part of a larger plan to remind us that, no matter how far we ran, she would always be there, a constant reminder of our past and a threat to our future. With a heavy heart and steeled resolve, I turned off the lights and headed to bed, knowing that the battle was far from over. Tomorrow we would face whatever came next with courage and determination. I vowed then, as I closed my eyes, that we would not be broken by her schemes. We would fight back, piece by piece, until the day came when Margaret's control was nothing but a distant memory. A full year had passed since the day Clara and I broke free from Margaret's controlling grasp, and now, as I sit on our back porch watching the early morning light dance on our new home's walls, I feel a quiet strength that fills every corner of my heart. This morning, the air is cool and gentle, and in the soft murmur of the waking world, I reflect on how far we have come. I cradle a steaming cup of coffee in my hands, and think back on the long, painful journey from that fateful night when a shiny red car had first appeared in our driveway, a gift wrapped in deception that threatened to bind us to a future we never chose. I remember the unease that had gnawed at me every time I looked at that car, the way it had symbolized not only mechanical faults and hidden dangers, but also Margaret's obsessive need to control every part of our lives. Clara and I had shared many sleepless nights filled with fear and doubt, wondering if we could ever truly be free. Yet here we are, in a quiet suburb far from the suffocating shadows of our past, building a life where each choice is made by us alone. Our new home, modest yet filled with warmth, stands as a symbol of our determination. Every wall we painted, every piece of furniture we carefully chose, reflects our desire to create a sanctuary of safety and love. I often wander through the small garden we planted, where rows of bright marigolds and tender green herbs remind me that life can flourish even after the harshest winters. Clara's laughter, light and genuine, fills our kitchen as she prepares breakfast for us, a scene that once would have been marred by worry and hidden surveillance. Now, even the soft sound of a baby kicking inside her is a joyful promise of a future unburdened by fear. I still recall that final confrontation with Margaret, a moment of raw truth when her mask of care fell away to reveal a bitter obsession. I had felt a surge of both sorrow and fierce resolve as I told her that our lives would no longer be dictated by her manipulations. It was then that I truly understood that freedom was not given but won through persistence, and the courage to stand up for what is right. Clara, her eyes shining with newfound strength, had joined me in that declaration, and together we reclaimed every lost piece of our peace. In the months since, I have taken small but significant steps to ensure our safety. We installed a security system and forged stronger bonds with friends and neighbors who have become our extended family. Each day, as I watch Clara plan the nursery for our daughter, I feel a deep gratitude for the life we now share, a life where our decisions are free from hidden strings, where every moment is our own. There are still memories that sting, remnants of a past when every shadow hinted at betrayal, but they are now distant echoes. They have taught me that vigilance and love are the twin pillars upon which we build our future. Today, as I lean back in my favorite rocking chair and listen to the soft rustling of leaves in the breeze, I make a quiet promise to myself and to Clara. I promise to cherish every sunrise and every tender smile, to protect our family with the strength I have earned through pain and perseverance. I know the world may still have its share of darkness, but here, in our small corner of peace, we have created a refuge built on honesty, courage, and the unyielding belief that love can overcome even the deepest wounds. As the day unfolds, I rise with a sense of purpose and step inside to join Clara in planning our future, a future without fear, where every heartbeat is a celebration of the freedom we fought so hard to gain. Our past may have been marred by deception and control, but the future is bright and open, waiting for us to write our own story with each passing day.